Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll leave you in the hands of Lawrence Foster.
Well, good morning, Tom Christensen. Welcome to Race Industry Week, and we've got a lot to unpack in the next 45 or 50 minutes. So just to set the scene, next year is the perfect backdrop, perfect. Next year is the 100th anniversary of the first Le Mans. We have the Centenary running, and the perfect guy has been chosen, I think, to be the Grand Marshal. Just unpacking your stats, there have been 90 24 hours of Le Mans so far. Tom Christensen has won 10% of them, 9 24 hours of Le Mans. So surely there couldn't be a better person to be the Grand Marshal. Tom, what does the Centenary mean to you?
Thank you very much, Lawrence, and yeah, thanks everyone from the panel today. And I think in generally, a Centenary is very much incredible milestone from, to me, the world's greatest motor race for so many people. Of course, the people who attend, the mechanics, the marshals, the engineers, certainly us as drivers, but also the fans from all around the world have followed this race. As you said, more than 90 times, and it will be 100 years since this crazy idea came about in 1923. So the race means a lot to me. It means a lot from the past. It means a lot when I was racing, and it also is going to mean a lot in future.
You actually, in your time, 18 starts at Le Mans, 9 wins. That's in baseball terms, that's a 0.5 batting average, which is pretty incredible. You were pretty much all business at the time. You know, it wasn't really sort of like looking at, well, I've won, I'm catching up with Jackie Hicks, I've passed Jackie Hicks, I'm going for the 9th win. It was all about that next win. How much convincing did you have to take to become the Grand Marshal?
They're convincing. I mean, that's down to Pierre Fillon, and as you know, unfortunately, he can't be with us just today as certainly planned. I don't know when that came about, but a phone call and a tap on the shoulder, and I was obviously straight in on that. I think I can only speak positive about a race, which obviously at some times scares a lot out of me, but at the same time it gives me so much in terms of pure joy. And this being a racing driver, it gives you so much. You have to put so much on the line. You have to withstand the pressure. You have to deliver. You have to be constant. You have to take chances at times, and all these things during my period. It has simply given me a lot, and it's not necessarily all good and happy. Every lap in traffic, every discussion you have with the team, with engineers, everyone has to deliver and bring a lot on the table. So to be a Grand Marshal, it makes me obviously pretty happy, but it's also a responsibility, and I look certainly forward for this great edition, but also the future in general about Le Mans. It's very healthy. It looks incredibly healthy.
Well, before we start looking forward, I just want to go back a little bit and right back to your first start, 1997. You were contending in the Formula 3000 Championship. You'd already won the international trophy at Silverstone. A late call-up for Joest. I think David Jones had been injured. They find your number. You basically get to the race, I think, with no testing. Have to sort of bail out halfway through the week to go to a Formula 3000 test in Austria. And yet, basically, speaking to Ralph Huttner, he says your quadruple stint in the middle of the night was one of his defining Le Mans moments. just take us back to 1997 and you know, you beginning to sort of like become embroiled in the legend of Le Mans.
Yeah, I mean, but I think you told it all.
Oh, sorry.
I knew that David Jones had been driving the previous years, but I was sort of told that they were looking for Bernd Schneider and Mercedes wouldn't release him. And then there was a driver with a budget, an older driver with a budget. This was sort of the discussion. So I don't know a lot about that, except that Ralph called me when I was playing tennis, and literally that's 4 days before I arrive at Le Mans. Goodness. So it was really in the last moment, and I just did these 17 timed laps during the practice and qualifying. What was gold, not only yours but certainly Ralf Jüttner, but in particularly Stefan and Michele Alboreto. They embraced me. They realized, okay, here is a young, what they said, a Japanese hotshot, Japanese rocket, as I was racing the previous years in Japan. And they were really, everything I asked for, they told me, but they never they just answered my questions. They were never putting me aside and pointing the finger and asking me to do something. So they brought me in really well. And I particularly, Michele, who I drove with to the hotel. I think it was an Ibis hotel down in the city center, and then back. I drove with him, and I asked him if he could take me around the track, which we did on a scooter, and then the 17 time laps, and there we go. Into the night, it was true. The quadruple stint was really important, and I was told that the same very fast and kind Michele was at the pit wall waiting for the car after my third stint. And during that time, he goes to Jüttner and said, the condition seems really good now. The condition seems really good on the track. And Jüttner goes to him and say, yeah, Michele, especially for our car. So that's kind of a good memory I have, and I got to share with Michele also after. That's something which obviously was fascinating, and I did the fourth stint. And after then, I have always been at Le Mans, at least the 17 times again, as we crawled back to what we had lost and gained on the leaders. And at the end of the day, 2 hours before the end, I got into the lead. And let's say for me personally, I won on my debut, but Michele and Stefan won for the first time. And it was really a great camaraderie and something we have together, even though at that time I was a bit younger than them.
Did you understand the significance of your achievement at the time? I mean, obviously your full focus was on Formula 3000 at that point, you know, the open wheel career path. Did you understand what you'd accomplished at that point?
Yeah, that's one of the big trophies. Of course, that was it just came so fast that you can say, all right, I might have been, let's say my brand, my drive, everything was of course not ready for it, as I was signed so late. And in a way of all this preparing up to the race, it means that, yeah, if you're racing successfully or at least full time in something else, you can be ready anytime. It's just the competition when you come to Le Mans, and at those days the car is very different. It was a right-hand drive, unsynchronized hedge pattern gearbox, no power steering, open car, where Michele certainly had, it's always the sort of the largest person who has the best seat. And we make this small insert into that seat. So later on, I was happy that I had the biggest seat later on. So I was sitting more comfortable than at my debut. I tell you, it was not my hands looks like I had been a blind carpenter or something, because they were I used too much energy driving the car.
So 9 wins. Which one for you is, I mean, I guess it's like picking your favorite child, but which one for you is your standout Le Mans victory?
Yeah, now I'm happy to look back, and it's as a whole. But for sure, that without the first one, the others would not have put me in a position, which is certainly the key with good teams, good teammates. I can tell you which one is the most terrible one. That was '99 with BMW. We were leading
Yes.
by nearly 4 laps with Müller and JJ. And everyone was there. It was '99, obviously, with every manufacturer there, which is likely what we are going to see now in the future too. So it felt hard that just after noon on Sunday, with less than 4 hours, we retired. We were still leading for 17 minutes.
Yeah.
So this was incredibly hard. That that something broke on the suspension under JJ at that time. That's probably also set a mindset of me not necessarily being extremely open and happy, and I will certainly not take any sort of congratulations even a few minutes before the Le Mans was finished. Actually, the next 6 years, as you know, I was partnered with Audi and with Biela Pure. We won 3 on a trot. I was then with a privateer with after the Bentley year, Bentley with Guy Smith and Dindo, and then the private teams, which were first in the Japanese team, Team Go, and the champion team, Racing for America. So a lot of different mechanics, teammates, but boof, we made it work. And I'm incredibly proud of that run when you speak in figures before, because actually after 2005, I had won 7 of my 9 Le Mans starts, which put the stats where I should have stopped at .77777. But I continued. I simply loved the race.
The two that stand out for me are 2007 and 2008. I mean, 2007 there were, you get beaten up in a DTM crash. Are you even going to make the race? Yeah. You guys are within 3 or 4 hours, I think, of winning the thing. There is a failure on the car. I think it was a wheel nut came off, was it?
Under Dindo, the wheel nut came loose, and you had only like less than a kilometer to see it. Actually, it started to unfold itself, unscrew itself after the Mulsanne corner, and it was like 4 or 5 laps into his stint. We had seen there was an issue maybe at the pit stop, but then we followed it, tracked it, everything looked okay. And then unfortunately not. Before Indianapolis, he was in the wall, Capello. So this was very similar to '99, but at least I have the experience, and so I could probably being a little bit more helpful with Dindo and Magnish, because that was a sure victory. That was a 3 laps lead at the time.
Yeah.
So that hurt very much. But it was also a testament to that I was back, because this was my sort of comeback weekend after my DTM crash, which you rightly put.
And then the year after, I think, was the real redemption year. The Peugeot was faster, I think, but yeah. You guys, I mean, basically, I think that was the year that you really sort of redefined Le Mans as a 24-hour sprint race. Just talk about that one. I mean, do you think that was the hardest win?
In some ways, yes. Certainly, we were not favorites. Peugeot had thrashed us at Sebring, and in qualifying, they were 3.5 seconds faster per lap. So we were in dry conditions. We were losing too much. But in the race with the strategy, I believe it was raining sort of quite heavily at times, but at least it came and went 5 times over the weekend, which we knew. So that's a little bit part of the qualifying. So we ran with more downforce, and we had a little higher ride height, running the car a little softer than normal, because it was expected to be raining, but I believe that came a bit more than we even expected. So obviously that was good for us. But with Dindo, Alan, Howden Haynes, the engineer, and the whole team on the pit wall, and certainly the crew, they had worked tirelessly about trying to optimize everything. from the pit stop, making sure the engine was right. Everything was sort of, because it was the third year of the R10 TDI with the with the 12-cylinder TDI. So we everything was sort of turned to maximum, and we were still slower. But we at the end of the day, we came on top, and many people, everyone sort of say this is the best race watching from outside, and many call it the best. I mean, from your colleagues as well, the best 24 hours there was. When you look, you couldn't kind of go away from the race, because there was always something unfolding, not only between us at the lead with the Peugeot leads cars, which were changing at times, but during the whole field. And that rain in particular gave us a lot of stress, a lot of challenges. But to come out on top of there, I tell you that we are very, very proud of that. So 2008 is certainly up there. But talking about 13, my last Le Mans with Magnish and Duval, there was a rain local. It came quite similar, but it was local. It never rained on the whole track. This creates another drama in terms of strategy and in terms of what tires you're on, because you are constantly on the wrong tires at quite a big part of the circuit, because it covers such a big distance. That was mentally probably harder. Or I can go back in 2001. It's probably not the best, let's say the best race I would pick, but it's the longest race, because there was rain for 19 hours out of 24. And aquaplaning was every lap on the table. So mentally, probably 2001 was the toughest, but for sure to come out on top on 2008 and 13 was very fulfilling for the entire team. And normally these victories, and that's what Le Mans is about. It's truly about team sport. That is when you come out on top and everyone have contributed, everyone is happy. These victories, we're under this camaraderie. That's also why Le Mans is so special.
Looking at it over 18 years, from 1997 to 2014, how did the actual complexion of the race, how did you have to sort of change your approach to the race in that time? I mean, obviously, you know, by the time you decided to sort of call it a day, we were into the hybrid era. As you say, when you started there, it was, you know, H-pattern gearboxes and whatever. But for you, how did the approach have to evolve over 18 years?
Yeah, 18 years. It's three decades. So obviously the car, very simple. It was this combination of a Porsche, the TWR designed chassis, very good to drive. Going into the BMW with a V12 natural aspirate, a fantastic sound, just thinking of it. Suddenly we had a sequential gearbox. I was sitting in a BMW. I'm sitting in the right seat with a sequential gearbox, so the gear lever up on the monocoque side. So a little bit of stress there, but still no power steering. So that car was a bit of a mouthful. The weight distribution not ideal, too low on aero, but fantastic, easy and drivable engine in that sense. Coming to the Audi with that's pedal shift suddenly when we have the power steering. So for the driver, quite a lot of even it was for me initially a bit too light and so the car becomes incredibly pointy. But there you start then, or I started then to go towards left foot braking over these years. Also when I went into DTM, where I used the left foot braking. And then suddenly the big change came for 2006 when Audi decided to go with a 12-cylinder TDI engine, which was incredibly challenging for us to drive. We had to use a spool, try to get some weight of the back. The weight distribution was way out of the window. So a lot of understeer in the slow corners. So you had sort of to break down and have quite a slow speed, no momentum at the slow corners, but try really muscle it around and then just floor it again to as soon as you could. And then in direction change, it was pendulum and tough, particularly on the bumps in Sebring. Very, very, very challenging car, but it was a rocket ship, man. I mean, it was really, really a tough car. So for us drivers, it was all about getting it in the right direction and getting the rear wheel down for some traction. Then we go in obviously with the R18s. I mean, I know the R15 and the R15 Plus is similar, but they just got more and more aggressive on the aerodynamic side. They were pitching a lot more, and they were even more nervous on the limit. But the weight distribution, due to the fact that we came down to a B10 TDI, helped on that basis, and also in terms of drive shaft, the gearbox, all these things, we were coming down a little bit down in weight, but still we only had 5-speed until we go to the R18. Then we had a 6-cylinder, only a single turbo, so a bit thinner drive shafts again. But then we made a 6-speed gearbox, which helped us in drivability. It's a closed cockpit car. But with this, also the aerodynamic regulations, the cars became incredibly powerful tool aerodynamically. I mean, these cars which I drove there was the best cars I've driven in terms of momentum and speed through the corners. And then with the hybrid, which came a few years into that, initially we had the flywheel hybrid, which of course at that time it's really pinpoint in terms of we know what we get, but it was difficult for us to use it to 100% because to gain some energy, we had to sacrifice too much scrub, too much harvesting, which hurt the lap time. So we were caught there, not having it ideal on the years to follow. So when we came into, obviously later on, you saw all had lithium, and with lithium batteries, the competition were going, and that's where it all headed. And then after I retired, as you saw, even Audi, Porsche, Toyota, all were with lithium in 2016. But that's just the year after myself. But with the way of, as you said, driving, I mean, it was complicated, and it was in a way, Le Mans had always been this, that sometimes if you know from the engineers that's through a stint, for whatever reason, that you might be able to do an extra lap. You will always try to be told as a driver, if you can save a little bit of fuel, there's a few points on the track where it's quite easy just to lift off a little bit and then brake later. And when you start to do it often, you actually don't lose any time. You can start to get into good rhythm about that. And that's what it was all about when you got into the hybrid cars as well, because you were only allowed a certain amount of energy per lap. And at the same time, you would also like to sort of save and harvest at the right part of the tracks and at the circuit. And in the beginning, we were doing that by manually because it became more efficient for us as drivers, as you could read the traffic in real time. Whereas with this data, then the year after, certainly, or at least 2 years after, it was all full automatically. But these were very interesting years, and I have to say very different. So over these 3 decades, sorry to mention all the cars, but that's what I would say is it's a logic for me, and take it chronologically. And certainly development over these years has been amazing. And then now again we have the rear view mirrors. We have this in. Now they're talking about that in Formula One, but we had that 10 years ago at Le Mans, and obviously, and I think even Corvette had it previously a little bit earlier than us, and that helps you very much in infight. You have somebody breathing down your neck, it's pretty irritating. You want to know where he is, and to see this on a little screen, very well put. We just put it. So if you see the R18 from the front, so it's just on top of the windscreen, so you just feel it. You are obviously looking out for looking at the apex, but you've just have that display on top of you, pointing directly rearwards to your enemy.
Well, Tom, the fact that you can talk about, diesels and hybrids and mirrors, that I think really points to the fact that Le Mans is a race that does genuinely embrace relevancy and genuinely embraces, accelerating new technology. Where do you see it at the moment in terms of the fact, Le Mans is obviously, looking at sustainability, trying to accelerate that. I mean, that must sit well with you.
Yeah, it's certainly. I mean, Le Mans is where you can demonstrate. You demonstrate your not only your performance, but also where you go about. And look how many boardrooms have been who have considered and who have applauded and are coming to Le Mans. The Centenary, as you mentioned early, that is a key point for motivating. Everyone wants to win that, and if they can't win that, yeah, the race will be there in future too, and there's great competition. They're coming from all the manufacturers. I can't even mention them all now, and this is simply fantastic. Obviously, the cooperation with the IMSA, with the Daytona 24 and Le Mans 24 and the WEC. It's really healthy, and yeah, I wish I was younger, and I would have definitely been up for it. So I envy also the driver market, the drivers who can now look ahead to have a competitive drive, not only at Le Mans but also the 2 championships and the Rolex 24, which is pretty soon already.
It is pretty soon, yeah. I mean, it is amazing when you see that, for instance, after 50 years, Ferrari is bringing out a factory prototype team again. The fact that we do have Peugeot back, Toyota, who have been a great supporter almost in the way that Audi was in the previous decade. Cadillac, Porsche, LMDH. I mean, yeah. This is another golden era, I think, Tom, is it?
Oh, it is. I mean, Alpine, Glickenhaus is there. You'll see BMW coming as well. You'll see Lamborghini coming as well. All this is a little bit longer down the road. Some of I mentioned, but there's even more. Van Wall, I hear, and there's all a lot of interest and hope going towards Le Mans, and it is absolutely a golden era. But of course, you can also say after a Centenary, people are ready to go, and it simply looks fantastic.
Tom, for you, obviously, as well as the Le Mans side, a huge record in the US as well. The record number of wins at Sebring. You won Petit Le Mans. Was a mainstay of the ALMS for many years. How do you see this sort of growing partnership with between IMSA and the ACO and the FIA growing? I mean, do you think we should have possibly the Rolex 24 in the World Championship, Petit Le Mans? Do you think there is a time in the future where maybe those big American enduros sort of become part of the calendar as well?
Yeah, but on this one, you put me on the spot, because why not? Now I know certainly in terms of the prototypes, yes, you can, but you have to have the whole field, obviously, in mastered out, not only the outright victory, but it can certainly happen. I think the boardrooms on both ACO and IMSA, and with the FIA involved, I think all this in total can go forward. You can say over the time they have just matured together, and what is very important, and the key word is in modern racing, is of course this BOP. And so it simply has to be that the sensible people from all sides of the political sort of fractions has to be involved, and they all have to look eye to eye, and they have to agree with a hand in the middle of the table that we do this because we do the sporting issue. We do it in the respect of what a great chance we have to go forward. So it's down to personal relations. It's down to people to be open and respectful about the different from all continents in that sense. Then it's possible, and it has never looked better than it is now. So I simply hope that they get this right in terms of, particularly with the hypercars and the LMDH, which at the moment it's sort of more or less 50-50 in terms of the manufacturers, which route they have chosen.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to be the guys who are actually doing the balancing between LMDH and the hypercars, but obviously US fans get the first chance to see them racing together. The first round of the WEC again is a double header with the 12 hours of Sebring. So that'll be the first time we actually see Peugeot, Ferrari, Toyota, Glickenhaus racing with Cadillac and Porsche. You, in terms of Sebring and your kind of love-hate relationship almost with it as a successful event, but one that was, you know, such a car killer. I mean, that's a heck of a venue to actually, you know, start this new era of LMDH versus hypercar.
Yeah, it is. No, I love Sebring. I love that all. I mean, versatility is a great word. We talked about that before, Lawrence, I'm sure. But in generally, a circuit like Sebring, I mean, there's nowhere like it. So you want to have this difference in circuit, difference in challenges, and particularly who is sort of the most, I would say, nervous going into Sebring. Yes, probably more the designers, about you know, suspension, about all these things, which is certainly being tested at Sebring. The layout is fantastic. The different types of grip of day and rubber putting down. It's a great challenge, and it's good to have the championship, both the IMSA but also the WEC having different racetracks, because normally you can say you'll be good off if you can win Sebring. That's a gel with the team, with the teammates and everything. But the setup is nowhere like it, like you are going to race at Le Mans, for example, because the circuits are so different. I love it. It is kind of, it used to be the first race for us was the 12 hours of Sebring, but now involved with the Rolex 24, that you can bring the same chassis, the same car, which you have done for a few years. That's simply good. That's simply good. That the big races, you can be able to go there and to win. That's what I said again. I envy some of the drivers who can do that today, which I unfortunately couldn't do that back then. But my best season in racing, it might surprise you, that's actually 2002, when winning the LMS and racing full time in America with Dindo Capello. That was really a great, and I was still at that time, I would say, rather young, and that was really a great time for us, and love to go around many of these very challenging circuit. And then in the middle of it, in June, we all headed to Le Mans in June, and to come away there successfully, even though it was raining 19 hours out of 24. It was tough.
You mentioned Dindo there, and obviously you've said about how in endurance racing, you know, it is so much about teammates, about the crew, about the engineers, about it being just a huge team effort. Looking back at some of those key teammates for you, I mean, guys like Frank Bieler, guys like Dindo, Emanuele Pirro, Alan McNish, the list goes on.
16 I have.
What basically is the chemistry that makes, you know, one of those formidable lineups that can basically keep on delivering, you know, the results?
You need to mature a deep, respectful relationship, but in a way you are competitors, because every time the car go fast and you're under pressure, so you have always to maintain that in terms of making the car faster. Let's say it sounds strange, easier to drive, but you have to you have to get this going along. So a lot of respect and responsibility, and always try to help the guy under pressure if it's not me. And that's really important. You're pushed from all directions as a Le Mans teammates, and when you have that, when you feel you support it, you take responsibility, and you deliver, and you go faster. And I've had 16 teammates, and the one you mentioned were certainly all great. I have a good relationship with all of them. Of course, sometimes it was not easy. Sometimes we had some issues we were not, let's say, agreeing on. Other times it was just rolling. So it is very, it's very demanding, and it's a very, very key point for me to have a successful Le Mans team over 24 hours. Anything which is not put on the table is going to crack during a race. And I've seen many times when I look back, I say, "Ooh, he went off there, yeah, but he was under pressure. He didn't have a run in practice. He was slow in practice. Now he's trying to impress. He was unlucky there." You know, you start to think that some of this should not have happened when you look at it. So teammates, the camaraderie, respectful. Of course, sometimes you see eye to eye, you have discussions, but don't leave a discussions by hitting the table or throwing your helmet. Always leave the discussions by having some kind of agreement. And to be honest, I mean, one of the, I would say, I don't know if it's secrets, but certainly with Dindo, Alan, and myself, we always went back and forward to the hotel in the same car. So we had there to sort of to let something out or to put something on the table. And I think that was really good. I mean, okay, there was one time we couldn't go back because some of our teammates, they took the 4 wheels off our car and put it on the stick up right after the qualifying at Le Mans. So apart from that day.
Looking at the sorry, I'm just thinking about wheelless wheelless rental cars. Yeah. Looking at the current crop of guys who are really delivering in prototypes now. We've got the likes of Sebastian Buemi, Mike Conway, some of the talents who Toyota has basically not only nurtured but has stuck with. I mean, I guess that's a big part of endurance racing as well, actually having the confidence from your team to actually stay with you. You are a long-term project as a driver. How important is it to have the full support of the team?
That's very important for us at Audi with Dr. Ulrich. He always supported all drivers equally, and he always made us feel that we were wanted. And believe it or not, drivers like that feeling, and to be able to give the feedback to the engineers and mechanics, where sometimes there was probably harder discussions with them than with Dr. Ulrich. And seeing and watching, let's say, Toyota going forward, and as I believe that they continue exactly with the same driver lineup going forward into the Centenary. This reminds me about, let's say, what we did at Audi as well. And of course, we have competed a lot with Toyota over the years as well. But this makes that everyone joining and the teams there, obviously with Peugeot, they really have to step up the game to make sure that they can overcome that strong team spirit and performance that Toyota has. But it's great they are there. I mean, it would have been a catastrophe that all these teams coming, and some of the successful teams are leaving. So hats off to Toyota, and definitely I know the motivation with most of these teams coming in. The ambition is to overcome it, is to beat it. They have been watching the hypercar with Toyota over these years, and now Peugeot coming in and being competitive, but obviously they haven't yet won. But what they want to win, that's in June next year. There's no doubt about that.
I'm sure that Jackie Ickx at some point thought that 6 Le Mans wins was the limit. Obviously, not only did you re-establish the marker, but you pushed it out by 3 more wins. Given the level of competition now, I mean, do you think it is possible for somebody to maybe match your mark or exceed it, or is it just so competitive now that it won't happen?
Yeah, I'm sure records are always there to be broken, and there's I can mention a few who are already on the way. I mean, obviously still competing. You mentioned them. I mean, there was Buemi, Conway. There's Lotterer coming back with Porsche, and there's a few others. When they come on a roll, this can very, very easily happen. But the thing is, when you start to think about your personal numbers, I can only say then they're going to fail. And they certainly have shown that they have the speed, capability, and also their inner hunger to have success with teams. So these are certainly favorites at the moment. But I also see a lot of other younger talent coming up. The LMP2 category has been incredibly intense to watch over the years, and there you see quite a lot of people and drivers who have matured, probably under a little bit less pressure than being in a works team going for the outright victory. But I see a lot of potential from some of these racers in this category, and that's something which I am looking forward to watch. So actually, I will follow with Eurosport. So I will be well involved, but from the other side of the microphone.
Tom, since actually hanging up the helmet, which obviously you haven't hung up the helmet, anybody seen you racing at the Goodwood Revival would realise that that is still Tom Christensen out there. But in terms of roles you've taken on with the FIA, in terms of just being an advocate for sustainability and racing being relevant and making sure that it's relevant, where do you see Le Mans going in the future in terms of some of the technologies it may champion and what it can do to really push the sustainability angle?
Yeah, I mean, hydrogen is certainly a theme which ACO is pushing, and it's under, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, it's under competition. The best engineers they unfold the different technologies. Hybrid cars is obviously, due to the length of the race, it is 24-hour at the highest efficient and in terms of speed and endurance. So in that sense, hybrid is still, but what will be hybrid? Will it be a hydrogen hybrid? Will it be electric hybrid? Will it be biofuel, which is also developing very fast and from different countries, different directions. It's even speeded up, not only by the brilliant engineers, but kind of the brilliant engineers are speeded up or being passionate, pushed, even due to the war at the moment. Energy is very much a theme around the world, where you get your energy from, and the best engineers we have seen are attracted to racing because they want to have passion at the daily job, and passion and sustainability. It's all being pushed into racing because there you want to work where you get something back, where you have some consequences from your good work, and in there racing will never die. So in that sense, we're in good hands going forward.
What else is? I mean, obviously, you're a guy who was always doing 1,000 things. That motivation, those energy levels remain as high as possible. What else is on Tom Christensen's radar at the moment?
Very much my children at the moment. The last one just left home, so we have three children, but that is on the radar actually. In these weeks, we're looking into now. But apart from that, when I look at my diary, also going forward, everything is involved in some ways in racing. If it's television with Formula One or Le Mans, if it's, I mean, it's all evolving around racing. Of course, for the World Motorsports Council with the FIA, every day evolves around it. But I'm also happy that I have time to use and spend a little bit more time on the kids, which unfortunately are not home anymore. But in that sense, it has been a nice, let's say, journey so far, and it's a privilege, of course, still to be involved, still to be invited here with Pierre Fillon and with you to speak about the great race, and certainly some of the diary is put towards the Centenary with Le Mans next year, and I look forward to take the role as the old ambassador.
Bigger picture as well. Denmark always seems to be one of those countries that has really sort of, punched above its weight in terms of putting out racing talent, a bit like Finland and rallying. Do you follow, I mean, there's guys over here, for instance, Christian Lundgaard in the IndyCar series, the fact that, Kevin Magnussen, is really sort of showing the Haas to best life in Formula One. I mean, do you follow the up and comers from Denmark?
Yes, I follow motorsport. It's part, definitely. Kevin is doing great with Haas. I mean, Christian is doing great with Rahal Letterman and going forward in the IndyCar. I mean, but there's a lot of drivers. There's a lot of drivers now. We will have with. I don't know if it's all official yet, but we will have a guy with Ferrari. We will have a guy with Peugeot. We will have a guy with sort of all the best team going forward. We have Marcus Sørensen winning with Aston Martin. We have the Nicky team earlier, and they are still there. There's a lot of young talent coming up underneath that. We have Vesti in Formula 2. So it is true that it's great to have that from Denmark. The only thing which is a kind of a disaster was we lost in football at the World Cup to Australia yesterday.
I wasn't going to mention that. Yeah, so you've now got to switch your allegiance to England, Tom.
And I've got so many messages from the few Australians I know, and one of them is Mark Webber, and it hurts already a lot. And knowing that he is not a good football player, it hurts even more.
Well, they've got to meet Argentina next, so everything is relative. So.
Yeah, but they lost to Saudi Arabia, didn't they?
Yeah.
So at the moment, I don't know. The world is changed.
It's a pity because I this is a tangent, but hey, you've mentioned football now, Tom. But I really wanted this to be the redemption World Cup for Christian Eriksen. That guy is a modern miracle.
Yeah, I mean, good that he's playing well for Man United. And whoever follows Man United, it's fantastic. I would say we had such a good team. We had such a good couple of years, and even of course with a dramatic setback from Christian Eriksen's minutes, the mental state of the team was amazing, and they qualified so easily to the World Championship. They headed there. Every player was there, but I saw 3 games I couldn't recognize the team at all. Of course, this is our problem, and that's really much. It's just incredibly strange, and I feel very sad about the good people on the team. Obviously,
I think that's an example here of how Tom Christensen, race car driver, is more than a race car driver. The fact that we have finished a discussion on the 24 Hours of Le Mans with a critique on Denmark's disappointing World Cup form.
And not mentioning that we beat France every time this year, except in the World Cup. But when it counts, it matters, and when it matters, you got to deliver. So yeah, we have to go back in our Viking castles to train, and then hopefully Denmark can be part of a World Cup in 4 years' time.
Hey, well, Tom, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I'm told that 6:50 was the end of our slot, but that's a lot of ground covered, a lot of races revisited. Obviously, your enthusiasm for Le Mans and the future of the race is is incredible. Basically, I mean, they've got a great ambassador. I guess you've got to now practice your flag waving skills to be the best Grand Marshal possible, and knowing Tom Christensen, it will be sort of rehearsed in advance.
I look forward, so do we all. But there's races leading up to the Centenary, and everyone is preparing at this in these minutes. But June 2023 is going to be amazing.
It is going to be amazing. I think we are now awaiting the return of our. Here we go. Yes, we Tom, that was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for finding the time.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you again extremely soon.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much, Tom. What a great honor to have you on.
Registering on EPARTRADE is easy. To start, click on the Join for Free button on the homepage. First, search your company to see if it's already in our database. If you see your company on the list, click on it to select it. Then, choose Claim Company if you are one of the decision makers, an owner, marketing person, or main company contact. Or choose Join Company if you are an employee, and press Continue. If you couldn't find your company in our database, select Register a New Company. On the following page, fill out your name, email, phone number, job title, and choose a secure password. If you chose Register a New Company, you'll need to choose your business type. Select Supplier if you're looking to display products or services and connect with buyers. Choose Racing Business if you're looking to source new parts and connect with suppliers. Choose Race Team if you own or are a member of a professional race team. Then, enter your company name. Please provide a website, Facebook page, or LinkedIn if you have one, and choose to either claim or join the company. You can view and agree to our terms of use here. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, choose Accept. Finally, click Register Now and your registration will be submitted for approval. An email will be sent to your inbox. Please confirm your email address and you will be approved shortly. Welcome to EPARTRADE.